Hello, and welcome to a very special episode of Never Did It. Today we're going to rank all 5 movies in the new-ish Monsterverse series of films starring Godzilla and King Kong. And today we have a very special guest. It's my 12-year-old daughter, Vivienne Rose, who has watched all 5 of these movies with me and is very excited to join us for the ranking.
I'm Brad Garoon, and Jake Ziegler's here with me and Vivienne Rose. Gotta introduce us, buddy.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Brad.
No, that's fine. Hi. I'm really stoked to be here with you guys. This is really fun. I so rarely get the chance to talk to people under the age of 30 about movies. So I'm really curious what people thought of this. Also, Viv, I have 2 questions for you. Have you seen any Godzilla movies except these ones?
No, I haven't. I saw Pacific Rim and I thought that was the Monsterverse for a minute when I saw it. When I was like, oh wait, isn't this where they have like the gigantic robots and stuff? My dad was like, no, that's Pacific Rim. And I was like, never mind.
We've been doing this podcast since you were 10. This is the first time we're having you on to talk about movies. What was it about the Monsterverse and Godzilla and King Kong that made you want to talk about it with us?
I thought they were really cool, and I wanted to just watch some movies with my dad because me and my dad like to watch a lot of stuff together, and I thought it would be really cool to watch all the Godzilla movies, and I just thought it'd be really fun to do.
Awesome. I have been following your new Letterboxd account, and I noticed you have been watching a lot of Scooby-Doo and ranking a lot of Scooby-Doo. Yeah. I didn't know that there were this many Scooby-Doo movies. I had no idea.
There's like a bunch, like a whole lot. There's live actions, there's animated, and one of my favorites is the Zombie Island one because it's just really funny.
Cool.
Yeah, there's like 30 of them or more. I mean, there's so many.
Do you feel like, and I know we're here to talk about the Monsterverse, but I just, ever since I looked at your Letterboxd, I've been very curious about Scooby-Doo. Would you say that the live action Scooby-Doo movies, do they capture the characters as they are in the animated ones?
Yeah, they capture that pretty well, especially with Shaggy and how he interacts with the animated Scooby in the live action movies. Because the animated Scooby has that weird effect, like, it's not nostalgia, it's just that weird effect because Scooby has those goofy eyes and like the weird body shape and the curl tail and Shaggy's really funny in one of the movies. I think it was, I can't remember which one, but it was just really funny. Maybe
I'll watch one. I really like Matthew Lillard, so yeah. maybe I'll check out a Scooby-Doo movie. Which one would you recommend I watch if I watch just one?
Zombie Island, Camp Scare.
Camp Scare is good, yeah.
Oh, what other ones?
That Lego one is good too. The Hollywood,
the Hollywood Scooby-Doo Lego movie, and the one with like the virus.
The Cyber Chase.
The Cyber Chase. Yeah. That one is amazing. It has baseball in it, which is one of my dad's favorite parts.
Of course. All right, so I've got Zombie Island, I've got Camp Scare. What was the Lego one called?
Hollywood Mystery or something.
It has something to do with Hollywood.
Yeah, I can't remember the title, but it's like a Lego Scooby-Doo. So
Haunted Hollywood. Very cool. All right, let's get to the Monsterverse. Now that my watch list is loaded up with Scooby-Doo movies to watch. The Universal Monsterverse, let's give a little background. It's interesting. Godzilla started as a franchise in the 1950s with a great Japanese film. It's a reaction to the nuclear attack on Hiroshima and Nagasaki and the anxiety that brought to Japan post-World War II. And the first Godzilla movie is like really serious. It's in black and white. Godzilla looks totally different in it than he would for most of the franchise, but specifically here, he looks very, very different in the Monsterverse. The Americans first attempted to bring Godzilla to America early on, where they just took Japanese Godzilla movies, added some scenes of American and British actors, and then redubbed the rest in English using scenes from the Japanese Godzilla movies. They're all pretty bad. And then again in 1998, Roland Emmerich made a sort of a Godzilla movie. It's more like a dinosaur in Manhattan kind of movie than it is Godzilla. Like the big anxiety is that Godzilla laid eggs and the eggs will hatch and the eggs will take over and the babies will take over. So it doesn't like really feel like a Godzilla movie in the natural sense. Also, Godzilla is quite small for Godzilla. And it's also quite bad, although, you might argue that the modern movies are bad. I wouldn't, but you might. So in 2014, we got another reboot where they were really trying to do Godzilla in the same fashion as the original Godzilla, where it was a big focus on the human characters and that Godzilla was really just like a force of destruction. And that's Godzilla 2014. Let's start with our special guest, Viv. Where does Godzilla fall on your list?
So Godzilla sits at my number 5 spot because I didn't really like it that much. I wanted to see more of Godzilla than more of the characters because it would have been a little bit better if we had more focus on Godzilla and how he wanted to come destroy stuff. And I don't think we got that much information on that. And I think we should have gotten more information on how, like, Godzilla was like, I need to destroy the city, and that's why it's at my number 5.
Jake, what about you?
I have it at my number 4. Similar complaints. Not enough Godzilla, too much Aaron Taylor Johnson, who's just not very interesting. I do like kind of the beginning, the Bryan Cranston sequences, and I do like Bryan Cranston in the movie. I like that part of it, and it kind of falls off when he's not the main character, and it becomes the Aaron Taylor Johnson show. So that's my number 4.
So it's my number 5 also. Like, weird use of Juliette Binoche, not playing to her strengths at all. Watch Taste of Things if you want a good Juliette Binoche performance.
Or The English Patient.
But not Godzilla and not High Life. I just recently watched High Life, and that, hopefully Viv doesn't watch that for at least 20 years. It's really gnarly, if ever, because it's also very boring, but her character in that is bizarre. Anyway, my problems with this are, even when we do get a focus on Godzilla and the Mutos, it's incomprehensible, because I think this is a major problem you get when you're starting a new franchise and you want to do a ton of other movies, is that you're purposely holding things back. So we don't see a lot of Godzilla for that reason. When we do see him, it's against enemies that we don't have any nostalgic attachment to, which I actually don't have a problem with, but it was something I would imagine would come later, and did come later, like in Godzilla Kong, New Empire, when we saw a lot of new monsters we'd never seen before. But to give us a monster we weren't familiar with right off the bat was a little weird, especially because I found, given that there were 2 of them, it was almost impossible to understand, like, the physics of each one. I got confused between the 2 of them a lot. They moved really fast. So these complaints that the monsters move too fast in the new movies, like, that's been happening since the first one. So what are you talking about?
All right.
And then you've got a character called Muto that never spits green mist, and I don't approve of that.
Makes no sense.
I have this rated 2.5 stars. I think this movie is actually pretty mid.
I had it rated at 3, but I mean, 2.5, 3. I mean, that's about right.
I have not rated it yet, but I'm gonna try to rate it as soon as I can.
We're still working on Letterboxd, how to use it and everything, and how to use the diary, especially the diary part. I haven't really taught her how to use that part yet.
Next, was King of the Monsters next, or Kong Skull Island?
Skull Island.
Yep.
All right, so then they telegraphed King Kong. Now, we've covered King Kong on this podcast before. We did a full episode about the 1930s version and Jake's relationship with his grandfather, Viv's great-grandfather, and then there was a 1970s version with Jeff Bridges that no one remembers. There was Godzilla versus Kong, a Japanese version in the 60s, which I watched recently and was quite poor, real bad. King Kong looked real stupid. The whole conception of the movie was that there's a pharmaceutical company that wants to use one or the other, I can't remember which monster, as their sponsor, and so that monster must defeat the other monster for pharmaceutical supremacy. It's real dumb, and King Kong looks awful. They did not use any of the technology from the American movie. It's just like a dude in a monkey suit. And then, like I said, there's the Jeff Bridges movie, and then
Peter Jackson did a Kong too, where we haven't mentioned that there was the Peter Jackson.
Forgive me. Peter Jackson followed Lord of the Rings up with his version of King Kong, which a lot of people like, but I think is deathly dull and really long.
I remember liking it, but I haven't seen it in a very, very long time.
I think it's been reclaimed. It was claimed in the first place by a lot of people, but has been like reclaimed because every movie is now, except for X-Men Origins Wolverine. But yeah, people like the Jackson one. That stars Jack Black and Adrian Brody and
Naomi Watts.
But then we got this, which was there's this concept I like that I hear movie and TV podcasters talk about called director BS, where directors will talk about their movies as being influenced by famous, older, better movies like Captain America, The Winter Soldier being influenced by the Parallax View. Although I would actually say The Winter Soldier is better than the Parallax View. I think Parallax View is really boring. So if you want a better, like 3 Days of the Condor, that's nonsense. Captain America, Winter Soldier is an action movie. But I've heard people talk about Kong Skull Island as being like Apocalypse Now with a monster. Give me a break.
That's a stretch.
Viv, what do you think of Kong Skull Island?
I put that at my number 2 spot because I really liked how they did Skull Island, because I thought it was really cool when Kong pulls apart that one monster, like he rips his rib, like the intestines out, and then it just becomes a husk of the monster. I also thought like one of the sacrifices from one of the characters was really sad. I think his name was Cole, I believe. Yeah, it was Cole who sacrificed himself, but it didn't go out well, but still is really sad. But I just liked it, and it was funny and a little interesting at times. When isn't his name Nick Fury?
No, that's in the Avengers. Samuel L. Jackson is
Samuel
the
L.
actor's
Jackson
name.
was, I've never seen him like that before. I've seen him as very good people in Star Wars and Avengers, and I've never seen him as the cuckoo crazy military dude who wants to destroy Kong and blow him up.
Just wait till you see Jackie Brown.
I'll tell you, the Samuel L. Jackson's in about 150 movies, so yeah, there's a lot of ground to cover there.
The character that sacrifices himself, is that Shea Wiggum?
That is Shea Wiggum, yeah.
All right, Jake, where do you have Kong Skull Island?
Viv and I are on the same page here. I have it as my number 2. As we talked about in the 1933 podcast, I do have an affinity for the Kong character. I do like how they did it here. I also kind of enjoy the novelty of having Captain Marvel, Loki, and Nick Fury be the main characters of this movie and having them all interact in a very, very different way. Especially like seeing Tom Hiddleston as more of a straightforward action hero.
Oh yeah, I forgot he was in that.
Yeah, Loki. Yeah, Tom Hiddleston's the main guy. He's so ingrained as Loki in just about everything that it was kind of cool to see him just do a more straightforward, action hero kind of thing. And yeah, I thought the action scenes were cool, and I like Kong, and yeah, I thought it was just a fun action movie.
Never really seen Tom Hiddleston so serious before.
You guys should, maybe a little bit later for Viv, but The Night Manager is this amazing miniseries that Tom Hiddleston starred in, where he's basically recruited to be a spy to help stop. It's like Tenet, if Tenet was good. It even has Elizabeth Debicki in the exact same role. But Tom Hiddleston is the main character, and he plays it very straight, very James Bondy. It was, I think he saw it as sort of a tryout to be James Bond. It's very good, The Night Manager. I think it's a Jean Le Carré adaptation.
I think you're right.
I don't like this movie. I think it's super boring. It's my number 3, kind of by default. In fact, my number 3, 4, and 5 are all kind of tied. And then my number 1 and 2, I think, are much better. But yeah, I thought it was pretty boring. I found the Shea Wiggum sacrifice to be really like nihilistic and depressing. And kind of reminded me of, we'll talk about this more when we do our Deadpool stuff. It reminded me of just like Deadpool movies in general, where the joke is that someone cared, and what a moron for caring. So I felt kind of ripped off by that shot. I know it accomplished what it was going for, but I hated it. Glad it worked for y'all. Did not work for me. But what did work for me was, and didn't work for a lot of people I've seen. Also, I should say, Kong Skull Island is the highest rated aggregate movie of this series on Letterboxd. It's the one surprising that people like them up. Yeah. I really like Godzilla King of the Monsters. For the first time, I think the Monsterverse did what is like promised on the box, which is monsters are going to fight and do wacky stuff and kill a lot of people, and you don't need to care about the people. And I think that's a big tension in a lot of Godzilla movies, like the first Rodan movie. And Rodan appears in Godzilla King of the Monsters. He's the Firebird. In the first Rodan movie from the 60s, you've got this storyline with the human characters about whether or not one of them gets scared at one point, and can he redeem himself? And it's just not interesting. So what I like about King of the Monsters is the stuff with the humans is really campy, goofy, and telegraphs to you, says to the audience, you do not need to take this seriously. Bradley Whitford at every turn says the dumbest stuff, and it is letting you know, like, you don't need to care about this. This is just here to make you laugh. And then you get to watch big monsters fight each other a whole bunch, which is really cool. Yeah, it's like, well, we got like five monsters in this one. Rodan, Mothra, Godzilla, Ghidorah, and I feel like there's another, but maybe not. This is my number 2. Viv, what about you?
This is my number 3. I really liked it because I thought the shot where Ghidorah, the shot where he was like on the volcano and he was roaring and where the cross was, I thought that was really cool. And I really liked all the new monsters coming in. My favorite was Mothra, because Mothra is literally so cool. She is so pretty too. I just love moths too. Rodan, I think his name is, didn't see him get a lot of screen time because he was fighting Godzilla or the other one, and he just died immediately, and then he came back, and then he died, and then came back and died. It was like flip-flopping and back and forth, but I really liked it in general.
Jake?
This is my number 5. This is like the one, I think, big break that we all have with this. I see the movie a completely different way than you described it, and it's just so rare that this happens with us, where like I feel like they put way too much emphasis on the human stuff, like with the Vera Farmiga, Kyle Chandler, and Millie Bobby Brown thing, where they like tried to make this, big human drama out of, this woman who is doing this, crazy thing because she thinks she's saving the world, and they tie it into this, the daughter trying to find the dad, and the dad trying to, get make his peace with the daughter and everything. I thought there was way too much of that, and it kind of dragged the movie on, and I wasn't into any of that. The monster fighting was pretty cool. I will go for that, but yeah, this is number 5 for me. I thought all that stuff really dragged out and made the movie too long and just kind of dull.
One more thing, I was so mad when that one Russian dude kept Gojira's head. Not Gojira, sorry, that's Godzilla. Ghidorah's head, because I thought he was going to start to remake it again, and I was like, no, you can't control it, no. Stop. Leave it alone. Let it die, please.
You see this emotional response your daughter is having to this excellent movie?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna defend it too. Family drama between Millie Bobby Brown, Vera Farmiga, and Kyle Chandler is very arch, and it reminded me a lot of how the older Japanese movies handled their human drama, which is just like, the mom is an eco-terrorist who ended the world and the dad still loves it. Like, I love that. It's so bizarre. Also, Charles Dance is a villain, which is just untoppable. He's top 5 villainous actors of all time, and you got him in this one. Defend to my death. And then, okay, so Viv, you cliffhangered. Ghidorah's head still exists, and someone did try to reanimate him in Godzilla versus Kong. Now we like hammered home this conceit that goes through all the movies now, that Godzilla is an apex predator. He's the top of the food chain, and he doesn't like it when anyone else wants to challenge his spot as the big bad monster. Enter Kong, who's going to do just that, and also enter the Hollow Earth. And then as Kong and Godzilla are fighting, they're both good guys. We need a bad guy, so we get Mechagodzilla, who has the brain of the last remaining head of King Ghidorah because of human greed. What did you think of Godzilla versus Kong?
I liked it and I didn't like it at the same time, because I thought they were fighting. It just, in my mind, it looked like they were fighting like siblings. Like they were just tackling each other. I didn't see no blood. I wanted to see blood. That's what I wanted to see. And also, I really liked the characters in that. One thing I forgot to leave out on King of the Monsters, there was one character, I think, that was named after me. Well, not named after me, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
She had my same name, exactly spelled the same way. And then she died, which was really
the daughter.
It wasn't the guy's daughter. It was one of the doctors, I think. Not one of the doctors, one of the scientists. Her name was Vivienne.
I thought it was the bad guy. I thought it was the bad guy.
It was Sally Hawkins.
I think so.
Oh, yeah, she was one of the doctors. Yeah, Sally Hawkins. Again, I think what I thought was totally wasted in that movie.
Hot take, I think Sally Hawkins is the most boring actor in Hollywood.
You've not seen Happy Go Lucky.
No, and I won't, because I don't like Sally Hawkins.
Eddie Marsan is also in that movie. So
okay, but Eddie Marsan is in every movie. I just decided, like, I'm watching, like, so Deadpool 2. Obviously, we're gearing up for Deadpool stuff. He's in Deadpool 2, and he's terrible in it. I like Eddie Marsan, but he's awful in Deadpool 2. I just saw him show up in something else. He's on my Letterboxd 2024 list. He keeps popping up in stuff that, like, he's better than the stuff we're seeing him in. Sorry, Viv, you didn't tell us where it ranked on your list.
4.
Number 4. All right, Jake, what do you think?
For me, that's my number 3. I did like it more than the prior movie because I thought there were, less on the humans and more on the monsters, just kind of smashy. At the time I saw it too, it was kind of during the pandemic and debuted or dropped on Max or HBO Plus or whatever they were calling it then, or it dropped then, and it was it was a nice distraction at the time, and it was just a fun little action movie again. So number 3 for me.
Okay, it's my number 4. I think this movie's dumb. And also, on a different day, it could be number 5, because at least Godzilla 2014 takes itself kind of seriously. My main problem with Godzilla versus Kong, this is where they lose the scale for me. Like, when they're fighting on the aircraft carriers, for me, there's no sense of scale. It looks like 2 human-sized monsters fighting on rafts. Because the buildings have now become so digital, which wasn't a problem before because the digital houses could focus on that movie. Now there's so many movies using the CGI that we know about these crunch problems. Everything looks so fake that even like that last battle between Godzilla, Kong, and Mechagodzilla, which should have been very cool, comes off like just a cartoon to me. And it made me think of, so I was watching when I went to see Twisters, there was a trailer for the new Transformers movie, the animated Transformers movie. And I got to thinking, like, yeah, of course, a movie on Cybertron would be animated. What?
Transformers 1 animated?
Yeah, it's totally animated.
I did not know that.
And I was thinking, why wouldn't it be animated? There's no human characters in this. For what reason would they go to the trouble of putting CG onto real surfaces when there's no human characters in this movie? And I thought that about most of Godzilla versus Kong. I was like, why are we even bothering with the human characters? And I thought the human characters in this were actually really boring, with the exception of Brian Tyree Henry, who thankfully makes it to Godzilla Kong, The New Empire, He's one of, I think, 2 or 3 characters who goes from one movie to the next. It's him, Rebecca Hall, and the little girl. And then we've got a couple of new characters who are a lot of fun. So again, I'm just going to say, this is my number 1. I think they finally get it. Like, they finally figured out what this is, what the tone should be. Not to mention, so first off, there's no human drama, really. Like, the humans are just sort of along for the ride. They help facilitate, but not in any real kind of way. What this movie does that's so great is it gives us almost a 30-minute segment where there's no dialogue. It's just the monsters figuring stuff out, fighting, doing their stuff. Kong is more like intelligent. Godzilla is more like a force of nature. So Kong really is the main character of this movie. And I really hope that in the next movie, there are no humans. I mean, that won't be the case, but it would be very cool if they did that. So the plot of this one is Godzilla is taking a nap in the Colosseum in Rome after fighting...
Like a cat.
Like a cat, very much like a cat. Godzilla has always been designed quite like a cat.
It's a gigantic cat with scales.
If you watch Godzilla -1, which is a very different tone than these movies, Godzilla very much looks like a cat. So Godzilla's taking a nap after winning a fight against, I forget what monster.
Crab spider or
yes.
like the wolf.
Yes.
Yeah,
the crab spider. Yeah.
When I first saw that, the last movie, I was like, get that away from me. That's like something coming out of my nightmares.
They went like full 1950s monster movie with that one. He's taking a nap. Kong is hanging out in his Hollow Earth area. Oh. He gets a toothache. Has to come up to the surface to get it fixed. They're worried Godzilla will get a beacon on that and come after Kong. But then we learn that there's trouble in Hollow Earth because when Kong is looking for a friend, he finds all the other Kongs, but they have been subjected to the leadership of evil King Kong. I forget what the character's name is.
Scar King.
Yeah, Scar King. Yeah.
And Scar King has an ice monster, an ice Godzilla, and that's how he's subduing everyone. He used to control the world. Very bizarre. Doesn't matter. What's important? They're all going to fight. There's tons of monsters that can fight each other in a tag team match. And that's exactly what we get. And it is awesome. For the first half hour of this movie, I was like, this is so dumb. And then once we got the 30-minute Kong segment, I was like, this movie knows exactly what it's doing. I love it. It's my number 1. Vivienne Rose, what do you think?
I put this up my number 1 spot. I really liked it because I really liked Mini Kong. The way he was just like really defensive at the first part, but then he starts to learn that Kong is not a harm. Kong is gonna take care of him now because we obviously saw Mini Kong's guardian get pushed into the lava, which was really upsetting.
Yes.
I don't like, is it Star King or is it Scar King?
Scar, like he has a scar on his face.
Yeah.
Like Lion King.
Oh, yeah. So, Scar King was not my favorite character. I liked how he was really rude to Kong because he was like, oh, what is this creature doing in my kingdom? It was super cool to see them fight and how Kong got the arm thing to help his frostbite from the ice Godzilla. And I also liked how Godzilla ate that one monster and then he turned pink. And I was like, he transformed. He's a Transformer. And I love the Mothra scene when she comes back. It's amazing. I really like it.
Yeah, I think Godzilla finding a monster to just help him level up, and they're just being monsters that are MacGuffins at this point.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Viv, a MacGuffin is something in a movie that is only there. It's like usually an object that's just there to move the plot forward. It doesn't
matter what else is happening in the movie.
Very nice.
Kind of like has Brad seen Solo?
Solo? Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like the quantum coaxium.
It's kind of like everything in Solo. There's not much in there that matters. It's just a fun time.
It's the thing they're going after. Why are they going after it? So we can have a movie.
I like that. What's the coaxium? It's the thing they're going after. Why are they going after it? Because it's the coaxium. Jake, where do you have New Empire?
Also at number 1, I agree with all the things you guys are saying. I mean, there's a lot of cool, like the visuals and the fighting is cool. You know, Kong getting his Luke Skywalker arm is really cool. I like his relationship, with the Mini Kong. I can't remember his name. Soko. I think it's like.
Oh,
Soko.
I thought he was just Baby Kong. Wasn't that his name?
It's just Mini Kong, Dad.
I think he has a name. Anyway, still liked the relationship between them regardless. And for people who grew up wrestling fans, I made this reference in my Letterboxd review. It's like watching Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage come together as the Mega Powers and do that big handshake, Kong and Godzilla coming together to form a team. Thought that was really cool. They had just enough human stuff with the girl, the young girl's connection with Kong, which I think is nice. I like that, but the adult characters didn't really do a whole lot, like I said, other than facilitate a few plot points. But for the most part, they really just kind of figured out how to do these movies and do the fighting and do the monsters, and they finally did it.
Another thing that I noticed, when they were in the pyramid, with the pyramids, Kong was like this, and Godzilla was like running towards him, and it looked like, and I just imagined it like the pyramid having like a basketball hoop, and Godzilla having a basketball, and Kong was just like, no.
Well, that's right. Yeah, Godzilla has little hands, kind of like.
Okay, so I was wrong. Baby Kong is from one of the past Godzilla movies, and Jake is right. Baby Kong in this movie is named Suko.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how we learn his name is Suko. They don't speak.
Well, they sign. So, like, if you have the subtitles, it should be on the subtitles. They would say like his name, I think.
I guess they would say like Suko growls. Yeah, that's pretty funny. Well, I like how you both called out his Luke Skywalker arm, because as funny as that was. Okay, so Dan Stevens makes this arm to help King Kong be stronger. But it also just happens to cure his frostbite? Like, why did it have a frostbite curing mechanism in it? How could Dan Stevens have known that Kong would have frostbite?
I don't know, man. We're watching a movie about a gigantic lizard and a gigantic ape fighting in the underworld. I don't know how far we want to pull on that thread.
Yeah, he had to tell me that I can't bring anything scientific in these movies.
I don't think it's scientific. I think it's just like, it's the only time in the theater I'm watching it and I'm like, wait, what? Why is that the case? Yeah, this one's a lot of fun. I really hope the next one's like this. Although it's a new director. This director is leaving. Adam Wingard is leaving to go make the Legend of Zelda movie.
Oh, interesting.
And
Ooh.
it's funny because Wingard also made Godzilla vs. Kong, which I didn't like.
Yeah.
David Callahan, who wrote early drafts for Godzilla 2014, will write a follow-up for Godzilla New Empire. The following week, Legendary announced that Wingard would not return due to scheduling conflicts, presumably with Zelda. In June 2024, they announced that Grant Sputori, the guy who directed I Am Mother, which was not good, will direct the new one, but it's Godzilla. So I Am Mother is it's Hilary Swank and a robot, and it's in the future, and there's a kid. Anyway, those are our ratings. Viv, are you excited for Godzilla Part 6?
Yeah, I am. I hope for more Mothra and like more of her story, because we only got to see her like a glimpse, and she was just saving Godzilla, and that was really it. And
Have I got good news for you?
Yeah.
There are no fewer than 5 Mothra movies that already exist.
I want to watch them. Let me watch them.
Yeah, we can watch them.
I want to learn her story because she's a really cool character.
You've got Mothra, 1961, Rebirth of Mothra, 1996, Mothra vs. Godzilla, 1964. She's also in Ghidorah, the Three-Headed Monster from 1964, Abira Horror of the Deep. She is in Godzilla vs. Mothra from 1992. She's in Rebirth of Mothra 2 from 1997 and Rebirth of Mothra 3 from 1998. She got her own trilogy in the 90s. Lots of Mothra movies. A few of them are on the Criterion Collection, which I know your dad subscribes to. Some of them might be a little harder to find. Actually, where is that Rebirth of Mothra? On Pluto TV. Enjoy that.
We have it.
Perfect.
Another thing I hope for the next movie is that I hope to see more of Godzilla, because we got a lot of Kong. I know there's like other movies with just Godzilla in it, but I would like to know how Godzilla and Mothra met. I know it's probably in Godzilla vs. Mothra, but I'd also like to get more like detail on that.
Very understandable. Godzilla was only in New Empire for 8 minutes.
Oh wow!
Yep,
and he still got top billing.